Karen, how much you paid for that one? Approximately, maybe.
I probably paid about 50.
Yeah.
But the syllabus, the one on Amazon, it's like 174.
Yeah. When I found the syllabus, it was running 151 and up. I kept looking and looking until one day I found one for 75. But I'm going to tell you, they are well worth. Dr. Christopher is the one I was telling you about yesterday. If you ever read his story about how he got into becoming an herbal doctor, because he wanted to be a regular medical doctor, and he was a very sickly child, and he said that was because of his such a sick childhood. He wanted, as he got better, to help others. But he said that an angel came to him and told him that you're going to be a doctor, but not a regular. You're going to teach people how to get well with herbs. And many of his stories, we have mirrored them using the very same herbs and having the same results. So this is an excellent book. He has another one, same size, same color, but it's called Herbal Syllabus. And yeah, it's 100-something, but if you keep on searching, it took me a couple of months because I wasn't trying to pay 150.
Now, what you can do is frequent the garage sales.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of times you'll find some really good books for a dime a dozen, and they're old books. They're books that the folks just want to get rid of, and they're excellent books. Or if you can, an estate sale.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can find real good old books from that. You want the older books because they're the ones that's going to tell you the truth. The newer books are those that have been revived for, a centennial or something like that. They usually have changed because of pressure.
Okay. Now, there were a few things we forgot to mention yesterday before we go into our cooking class in about 10 minutes. Excuse me. One was about the eyes. We talked about diabetes. We talked about liver. We talked about kidney. But the eyes, we talked about the heart. Yes, there are herbs out there for the eyes, specifically for macular degeneration, for night blindness, any problems with the eyes. One of them, a main one, is bilberry. Not blueberry, bilberry, which they say is the cousin to blueberry. And the interesting thing about that, I actually purchased the actual berries last year sometime. It was very hard to find them, one. Two, when I found them, I think at that time it was $25 a pound. Well, this year I wanted to get some more because I wanted to start making tinctures and stuff. And I could not find them less than like $50, $60, $70 a pound. Bilberries look similar to blueberries, but they're not the same. They were used, and they say accidentally, pilots in one of the wars accidentally discovered how good they were for the eyes because they needed to be able to see at night. Yes. BIL. I'm going to write it right here. They accidentally discovered how it works for night vision, and it works quickly. And so basically, can you see it? Okay. Basically, they used it. It's used for night vision, but it's also used for any problems with the eyes. Yes. Oh, they do. Do you have any idea how much it was? Okay. Well, if you can get bilberry. The other one for the eyes, yes. Okay, the other one for the eyes, specifically for the eyes, is Eye Bright. Eye Bright. Okay, Pam testifies that it works good. Now, let me throw in this little side note. We mentioned casually yesterday that sometimes you really need to know a reputable herbalist, because there are some companies. Remember, we mentioned how because these health food stores, etc., have to get these products out quickly. There's a lot of watering down going on. So if you know a reputable company where they're not watering down their herbs, and Dr. Richard Schultz is one of them, get your herbs from there. But anyways, go ahead. Yes. Yes. Specifically, gout for gout is burdock root. Burdock root is specifically for gout. Gout has something to do with the blood, impurities in the blood. And remember, we talked about burdock root is excellent and fast, one of the faster blood cleansing, blood purifying herbs. But burdock is mentioned specifically for gout.
Okay, now if you don't have gout, but you're eating exotic foods, exotic meats, you're going to have gout. That's what's happening. It's leaving a deposit, and it falls right into your foot area.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something you might need to think of. We're teaching you how to prevent, how to fix. But if you want to avoid it by stop eating
Rich foods.
rich foods.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what causes it.
So spicy.
Spicy.
Too spicy. A lot of what they call not concentrated. That's not the word I'm looking for. Processed. A lot of processed foods, especially since we mentioned that a lot of the foods,
Are being
an awful lot,
processed now.
contain GMOs, which is just messing up our system. But most people don't even know that because a lot of people don't take the time to even read. So the more natural we can eat, the more fruits and vegetables, and beans and things like that we can eat, the better off. And I'm a testimony to that because when I was having problems earlier, I had to do a drastic change to my diet. And I've been a vegetarian all my life. I've tasted, my mom was eating meat, my dad wasn't, but she would cook vegetarian for us. And, she would still occasionally eat her chicken or whatever. And I remember, she'd tell me to go down. I don't even know how to cook the stuff, but I knew how to boil a hot dog. That's all. She would have, go boil me this hot dog. But one time as a child, I snuck a piece of chicken, and I was like, really? Is this what everybody's so, but because my taste buds, just weren't developed for that. But I've noticed as I've gotten older, and even though I'm still a vegetarian, if I eat food that's like canned food, processed food, there's almost an immediate difference I can feel in my system as opposed to when I eat fruits, vegetables, food that I make myself, like maybe beans or something. I cannot eat that processed food too much. I almost have an almost immediate reaction. So I'm eating more salads, more fruits, and I didn't even grow up liking fruits. Very few fruits did I like, but, because I don't like being sick, I don't like being in pain, I like to be active, that kind of motivated me to, change my diet. And we seem to be in a constant change in our home because, as I learned more and more about foods that we used to be able to eat, like, remember we said yesterday, the two main foods that were inserted with GMOs was corn and soy. So that knocked out a whole lot for me because corn oil is all I used to use. I don't touch the stuff now, and I'm now down to basically coconut oil and olive oil, and that's it. So as you learn, and it's, it's even the vegetables. As you learn, just have to be more choosy, more picky in what you eat. There's still a lot of variety out there. There's still plenty of good food to eat. You just have to be choosy, and everybody's different. Yes. Did you ever hear? Oh, okay. No, we didn't. However, again, it was some years ago that we were talking with a friend, forget where we were, but we were reading up about it. And I haven't done too much deep research, but the herb that we found because of what it does to the blood platelets was burdock.
Because it purifies the blood.
And it changes. It does. What else did it say? It also works on the lymph system. So the burdock root was the one at the little bit research that I did. Burdock root is the one that would work with sickle cell.
And if you're talking about the lymphatic system, you weren't here yesterday, but we were talking about the cleavers. The cleavers work directly with the lymphatic system. And there are some nice people over here who will probably share. I won't call no names. Who will probably share. Oh, you said the pastor. The pastor is quite up on some of these, a lot of these herbs, matter of fact. But I was going to say that in sharing this with you, we have to learn to listen to our body. Our body is going to tell us certain things that's going wrong. Remember I told you yesterday about the heart attack that I had? Well, before your body gets to that point where you actually feel it, your body is giving you certain little signs. You know, usually when it gets to this point, you've had over several heart attacks. You just didn't know it. But you kind of like passed it over. So a lot of times we have to listen to our body. There's certain things that's going on. You may, okay, for instance, the lower back, when that starts paining you, do you know what that's telling you?
Kidneys.
Kidneys. That means you need more water. You weren't here yesterday, but we were saying or sharing how others shared with us that water is very important in helping the kidneys. So what we're saying is listen to your body, learn what's going on.
Okay, the other thing we didn't mention was problems with your gums and your teeth and so forth. We mentioned the recipe that's in this particular book, but years ago, another thing I found about bloodroot, believe it or not, was that bloodroot was used in toothpaste because bloodroot actually tightens up the gums and the teeth. And back then, and we're talking about 12 years ago, I actually found a toothpaste that had it. This was in Big Lots. You know, Big Lots carries a lot of stuff that's just out of whatever. And so I think the name of it was Viadent. I actually found it. It was under the Latin or scientific name, though, so, you know, the average person wouldn't have any idea what it was. But when I saw that, Candidinus sanguinaria is the Latin name for bloodroot. Of course, I haven't found it since, but someone told me, and I haven't had a chance to check it out. What do they call it? People use when they have dentures to keep them. Not, it's something else. What do they use? You know, to keep it.
Polygrip.
Is it Polygrip?
Yeah, Polygrip.
Seems like there's another name she gave me. But anyway, she said it's in that, and it's under the Latin name. They use that to help. You know, when people don't have teeth, they use dentures. They use that in that particular formula or whatever. So that's another thing that will help your teeth. I make something, and you can easily make it, but I basically would boil or make a tea out of the bloodroot and add vegetable glycerin. Vegetable glycerin is kind of sweet, so it helps the bloodroot not be so bitter. And then I would add a little essential oil, whatever flavor I like or, you know, I have. Could be wintergreen, peppermint, or spearmint. And it actually makes it taste good. You actually look forward to gargling with it. And all you do is gargle with it. And if you have a particular side of your mouth that's having a problem, gargle on that side. And I had, oh my, several years I had enlarged, swollen gums. And they weren't bothering me, but I could see it was enlarged. But it got to the point where I couldn't chew on that side anymore. So I was like, okay, I have to do something. You know, sometimes I get busy, and I know something's going on, but I'm so busy I don't pay attention until it gets to a point like, okay, I've got to do something. So it had gotten to that point where I could no longer chew over here. It was so painful. So I made my little bloodroot. It took about a month of me gargling, I'd say about 4 or 5 times a day, and every few days it was just going down, down, down. It's still a tiny, tiny little bit there, but now I can chew back over there. And if you don't take care of your tooth, you know, the problems with your gums and stuff, it can go to your heart, you know. And I realized that, and I realized, you know, I really let it go longer than I should have. But it was simply a gargle of bloodroot, and it took that infection down to the point where I used to, could feel a lump here, and when I would look at it, I could see it. But it took it down to almost nothing now. And as I continue to do it faithfully, probably in another month, it'll be totally gone. You know, but what happens to us sometimes is we'll do something for a month or two, get busy, life happens, we stop. Okay, and then we realized, okay, I need to finish this. So that's the main thing with taking herbs. You have to be consistent. That is the main thing.
That's true. There was a lady that was about 80 years old, and she was suffering with arthritis really, really bad. And we shared with her about chia seeds. And, well, she started taking them, and she forgot all about the arthritis, and she started going, going, going. And then forgot to use um, the chia after a while, and then the pain started coming back. She couldn't understand what was going on. Sometimes we get a clearance, we feel better, and we figure that's all we need, and we go on about our business. So life does happen.
And the thing is, the herbs will heal. They're not just a placebo. They are actually healing, but you have to see it all the way through to the end. And sometimes that may take a couple of months for complete healing, even though you may start to feel better within a month or so. But you want to go ahead and finish it out so that your body can fully heal from this. When enough is enough, you mean taking the herbs? When it's gone, like for me, like I said,
Completely.
there was a huge lump here, okay? Yeah, it's gone down to almost nothing, and I could not chew over there. So now I can still chew. There's a still little slight something there. So when that's totally gone, then I know it's done. You know, and the fact that I can chew over there and the swelling has gone down so much, I know it's working. Yes. Someone over here? Okay. All right. So those were the two that we did not get to talk about yesterday, the eyes and the teeth, the gums. Like we said, there is something for everything, every disease, every problem that we have. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, let me talk on that then. Depending upon what herb you're using, it's going to be different. Okay, like say bloodroot. If you're using the tincture, a bloodroot tincture, you want to start with, I would say, 10 droplets. Okay, you know the little droppers that you have in bottles. You start with 10 droplets in about 2 to 4 ounces of water or juice. You're going to do that at least twice a day. 3 would be even better, but at least twice the minimum, and build it up to 20 drops. And some people can take even more. So you're building it up so your system can get used to it. When I first, the very, very first time I used bloodroot, I had read that the Native Americans would take, you know, the root that we passed around yesterday, a tiny piece about the size of a pea,
And just swallow it.
and swallow it or chew it if they could. And they would do that for 30 days if they knew something was going on. It didn't even have to be cancer. Remember, bloodroot goes after anything abnormal, any abnormal cells. They would take that for 30 days just to get themselves, you know, back on track. Well, I decided to try that. And, you know, I was taking it for 30 days. The first thing I noticed, or my husband noticed, was my energy level just, you know, went off the chain. But one day, and I kept mine in the refrigerator because it will keep in your refrigerator for months because it's the same conditions. It's cold, it's wet, it's dark, it's damp. Well, one day, because it was in the refrigerator, you know how you saw it red yesterday? It was kind of pink. And so I had taken my little pea size, and I remember looking at it when I took it. I was like, oh, that was not as red as I would like. You know, maybe it wasn't strong enough. I think I'll take another piece. So I took another pea size. Immediately, I began to feel nauseous, instantly, which meant that I was taking too much. I had taken too much. So if you say start with 10 droplets and you feel nausea, just back down a little bit, okay, and then build it up more gradually. But that one little pea size is all you need. And I did do it for 30 days, and I mean, I did feel different. So, you know, we do that periodically throughout the year, take it for 30 days. The tincture, generally you take it for about 3 months, take a break, and then start it back up. But if you're doing something like a more milder herb, like a
Let's stay with the blood. Because if you're using it externally, Okay, let's say you have a rash or you have something viral that's on you. You can take the juice of the bloodroot and rub it on, or if you have it in an oil form, you can put it on and it'll take the rash. Or as my wife brought out about the people who had some sort of dermatology problem.
Yeah.
They used it externally for a couple of days and it took it away.
Now I will share this with you. You know, we travel a lot and we stay in many different places. And at one of those places, which I'm not sure which one it was, but I got bed bugs. And the reason I knew there's a difference between bed bugs, mosquito bites, chiggers, ticks. And when we were at the campground, chiggers and ticks were just part of our life. The comfrey salve helped with that. But I got the bed bugs, which were all up and down my arm. I can't even remember how it had to be like 50 per arm. But the first thing I did was immediately when I started feeling like a little irritation, I would put the bloodroot oil on it. And that's what kept it from itching crazy and you know, me scratching it and so forth, was the bloodroot oil. And as my husband said, that's external. You don't need much of it. You would not take that internally. That's just an external thing. And usually when you use the oils, you don't need much anyway. You just put a little bit on. Same thing with the salves. You just put it on wherever the little irritation is. And if you feel it 2 or 3 times throughout the day, you apply it. When we were rangers, you know, we were up in the woods all the time. That just was not going to happen, that we weren't going to be in the woods. In spite of the chiggers, that was just, to me, a sacrifice that I was willing to take. But if you've ever been chiggered, anybody here ever been chiggered? Oh, I had not until we moved to the campground. I had never experienced that. Coming from the north, up in Wisconsin, they don't have chiggers because it's too cold, okay? And so when I first got them, you know, you scratch them, and you may have them on one leg, and it seems like the other leg announces, she's scratching on this leg. Now this one starts to itch. And then you're going crazy trying to scratch them all, and then you end up with these marks all over you. So I just got to the point where, okay, I'm going in the woods. You try and put something on, but sometimes it didn't happen. Once I learned about the comfrey, and that was about 10 years into living there that I started using it. The chiggers, once I get, you know, they're on you, it would take 2 to 3 weeks before they were, you know, the itching stopped. Once I learned to use the comfrey salve, 2 to 3 days, they were gone. Now, what would happen, you know, when you first notice the little chigger, the little bump, then it blisters. When I first saw that little bump, and you learn to know what's the chigger and what's the tick, etc., I would put it on. And throughout the day, if I felt a little itch trying to come, instead of scratching, I'd just put the cream on. And by day 3 or 4, nothing. No itching, nothing. So it reduced the 3-week irritation and pain and itching to 3 days. And so this is what you do with the creams, the oils. You just use a little bit right on top of the sore or the itch or the bite or whatever you have.
Now, if you want to, if you know you're going into the woods, have yourself peppermint oil. Sprinkle it all in the bottom of your shoe and probably on the wrists of your shirt. They will not bother you. They will leave you alone. You are off limits to mosquitoes, chiggers, ticks, whatever.
And just keep in mind the peppermint oils, even some of the natural remedies for keeping bugs, they only last generally about 2 hours.
That's why I say put it in your clothing. When you put it in your clothing, you don't have nothing to worry about. It stays immaterial for a longer period of time. Like if you sprinkle some peppermint in your shoe or on your shirt, 3 to 4 days later, you'll smell it again. You'll smell that peppermint, so it keeps them at bay.
Okay, we wanted to talk before we go back and do our cooking demonstration and our tincture demonstration about getting your wild edible plant garden started. Hope Pam doesn't mind. I'm going to use you as an example. Are you going to take them on a tour one day?
Blindfold.
Like I said, for those who weren't here earlier, I got some eye candy this morning. She shared with me her herbs in several little spots in her front, back, side, etc. And there's still room for more. I saw room, yeah. But basically, to start your wild edible plant garden, go get that little bag, little kit bag. If you can't get wild edible plant seeds, and of course you know you can't go to Lowe's or any of the regular nurseries and find wild edible plants. You're not going to find bloodroot. You're not going to find comfrey. You may find a few nurseries here and there that may have the actual comfrey plant. But as a general rule, you're not going to find that. And we're going to talk about the ones that are must-haves. And these are the herbs that are, one, they grow, they'll come back year after year. Two, they're very easy to grow. Three, they're almost like a panacea for many, many, many things. So we're going to concentrate on some of those that you can use for many different ailments and that are very easy to grow. We mentioned this one yesterday, and this one, burdock. Burdock, not only can you eat the leaves, the plant gets about, it can get this big, but they have one called great burdock, which can get up to 5 feet. So you can get this size or a larger size. But burdock, that's one of the plants that is a must-have because of its blood-purifying properties and its edible properties. That's the one we're going to make the burdock burger out of the root today. And the leaves, you cook it like a green. It's a pot herb. The stems also, but the root is what you use for blood purifying. The root is what you use to make burdock burgers out of. And not only are they nutritious, they're delicious. And you'll see that. And the way I came about that, I was actually just making a tea, with the root. I had boiled the root for 30 minutes. And, of course, usually when you use root for a tea, you throw the root out. Well, when I was getting ready to throw it out, I remember looking at it, and I said, that looks like TVP. You all know what TVP is? The vegetarian... Yeah, yeah, and it looks like little granules of whatever you call it. But anyways, I remember saying, it looks just like it. And then I felt it, and I said, it feels just like it. And then I tasted it, and I'm like, add a little onion, some garlic, a little seasoning. It's the same thing. And so that's where the idea came to make a burger out of it. And so I've done it, twice? Twice so far. And we've had meat eaters who didn't believe it except they saw us doing it, made a burger out of it. And what happens when you boil the root, it doubles in size. So if you had 1 cup, once you boil it, it's now 2 cups. So you don't need much at all. Now, here's the key. If you don't have burdock, and that's another thing when we first started teaching about growing your own wild edible plant, I didn't see a lot of burdock growing naturally. Even on a campground, on 500-something acres, we have 1 or 2 little burdock plants which happened to be up near the house. Well, one was in the way, and so I had my husband move it. We let it grow to seed. And when we took it out, this was before I really knew its wonderful properties, I simply threw it over to an area, not thinking, and the next 2 years, it just reseeded and was beautiful and huge.
And she could not touch it.
Because my husband is a plumber, and
it was growing right over the septic tank. So, you really don't want to eat anything off the septic tank. And here's the reason why. It's sucking up what you passed out, okay? And the nitrogen and everything is actually robbed from that plant or plants.
Now, believe it or not, there are individuals, and there may be some in here who really think it's okay to use human waste as fertilizer because it really does make it bigger. But
the Bible says in Deuteronomy that, and I got to get it for you, God told the children of Israel not to have their waste nearby because he was going to walk amongst them. The waste was supposed to have been taken outside of the encampment and not to be used with their growing of vegetables and stuff like that.
Now, they do that in other countries, but, that's them. it's best not to utilize your own or anyone else's waste.
That's why in survival situation, we cut against the grain and we tell you do not use your urine for water. It's going to rob your body of the essentials.
As well as poison your body.
Yeah.
Okay. But back to the different herbs. Okay, burdock, if you don't have one, and most of the times when we did find it, we found it in the woods. So what we suggest, this is one of the ways you can actually get plants to put into your garden. Go into the woods, or if you have a friend who has some and they don't have any idea what it's for or don't care, take it out and transplant it to your area. Now, different wild plants have different needs. Burdock is one that likes open sun. So it will grow in an area that there's full sun. A lot of the wild edible plants prefer shady areas. But when you're removing wild plants from their native area and you're duplicating it at your home, all you got to do is make sure you have the same conditions. Even if you don't, you can replicate it. Like we said, we've seen people grow bloodroot in a pot on their porch in the shade, and it'll still come up. So just kind of manipulate the area. So burdock is one. The other one is milk thistle. Again, we did not see milk thistle growing anywhere on our land, on the land in Tennessee. And as my husband said, it probably was farmed out, but that is a very important plant, and it grows in full sun also. Now, I've not seen that growing anywhere here, so you would probably have to grow that from seed. But I've not seen it even there. There's thistle, but not the milk thistle. The milk thistle
has the white
blotches
on the.
Yeah, I've not seen that anywhere in Tennessee, Alabama. We're all over the place. Not saying it doesn't, but once we started planting it, and when we would do our seminars, making sure everyone had, when we had so much one year, we just gave them away because we had like over 50. They grow very easily from seed. And not all plants would do that, but milk thistle is one, and that's one that's in the mini greenhouse right here. Milk thistle is the one that's for the liver.
Now, we watched a, pokeweed. When we found out that the root was excellent, we happened to have some bells on the campground, the big round bells, and there was some pokeweed growing out of one of the bells. And the root on that was humongous.
About
3 feet long and about, it must have been close to 2 inches thick.
No, that was about.
Yeah. Okay, it was an excellent plant. So sometimes you might want to manipulate how, especially if it's a plant that you're growing specifically for the root. You might want to use, there was a friend of ours, he did a grow box. He made a box, he filled it up with dirt, and he put, I think it was burdock or something, a plant in it.
Yeah.
And what he did was he made a door where he could open it up. So after a period of time, when the plant has grown to a maturity, he was able to open the door and dig out the root and use it. So, you'll come up with all kind of ways of securing what you need.
The reason he made that grow box for the burdock, it was about 3 feet tall, is because burdock root can get 2 feet long, 2 to 3 feet long. And what happens when you go to harvest the root, if you don't know how long it is, you'll end up chopping half of it off. And so he did that so that it's a taproot. Another thing you need to know about your plants, taproot is like a carrot, meaning it goes straight down. Okay? Then you have certain roots which are called rhizomes. Rhizomes are roots that go across the ground like that. Bloodroot is a rhizome, meaning that if you go digging for bloodroot, you don't want to just chop and go down because you're going to chop half of the root off. So you need to know the different types of roots that you're digging. Bloodroot grows across the ground horizontally like this. Burdock is a taproot which goes straight down like a carrot. Then there's it will. But if you want to get the whole root,
if you're trying to get the whole root, you're trying to harvest the whole root.
Yeah, but if you cut it, it will regenerate. But if you want to get the whole, we've gotten some this long. That's usually in the fall of the year. That's the best time to get it.
When you start digging roots like that, you kind of get real particular.
Okay, another plant that's good to transplant, but it's very, what's the word I want to use, temperamental, as rough a plant as it is garlic mustard. That is right now, we're getting many requests for that, which we can't even meet yet, but probably in another month or so we'll be able to, because we found some. They are very temperamental. You can transplant it from the wild to your house, to a pot, but you've got to baby it. Literally water it in the morning. It'll droop, look like it's dying, water it again in the evening, and then you'll probably have to do that. Every time I do it, I have to do that about 7 days, until usually by the 7th day it's standing up firm. Once you get it to do that, then it's going to take, and you'll have it year after year, but that's a plant you're going to have to baby, but it's well worth it.
For those who yesterday, garlic mustard is it on here?
It's on there, yeah. It's right over there, right
It
there.
is, okay.
Yeah.
Because you weren't here yesterday. Garlic mustard top. Right there. Okay. That particular plant helped me out of a heart attack. I took 3 leaves, and, I guess I'll tell you the whole story. Those of you who know, quit laughing. What happened was I was out on the campground, and I had a heart attack. I could feel the pain in the shoulder, the chest, and I asked the Lord that the Lord would help my wife find the body. But then I thought about it again. I said, Lord, well, if you could show me something, and that's the plant. And the garlic mustard, I took 3 leaves, I ate them, I laid down for 15 minutes and got up and never had the problem again. Now, that's all I knew about the plant. When I told my wife about it, she looked it up and discovered that it had lots and lots of vitamins and minerals. It has more vitamins and minerals than your leafy greens, okay? Your collards, all the rest of them. And we shared this with a young lady. She had gotten the plant, and what we didn't know is she was born with a heart arrhythmia. She took it for a month and a half, and it adjusted her heart to a regular beat. So we're still learning about it. There was a gentleman who was about 300 pounds. He was trying to keep up with his grandson on a hiking trip, and I shared the plant with him, saying that it would give him quick energy. Well, it gave him quick energy, all right. Within a couple of minutes, he was able to pass the group, and when I asked him what was the difference, he had his pockets filled with this garlic mustard. Well, it encouraged him to lose weight. It helped him lose weight. 3 months, he had dropped off a sizable amount of weight, but he had the energy and he was able to go. And that particular plant has been my favorite plant. It has a garlicky taste. Yes. No, that's not the thistle we were talking about, but that is a thistle.
If you can
What's that? The garlic mustard?
just take a couple of leaves, fresh leaves, a couple of leaves a day. That's all she did, the one with the heart arrhythmia.
Yeah, it takes out plaque.
She had to have the actual plant. She got the plant from us. And unfortunately, we're going to share with you some companies that actually will sell wild seeds, but we have not found one company here in the U.S. yet that actually sells garlic mustard. Because they're basically outlawing it, you're probably not going to find one. There is one company in Europe that sells it, so you have to get it overseas. But from what we're learning, if you get it from overseas, out of the country, they're going to spray it, and a lot of people, they've not been able to get it to even germinate. So what we suggest is find it in the woods, okay? If you can't, we can. We have places we can get it. And grow it, transplant it.
Locations.
Yes, undisclosed. Transplant it to your house or in a pot. And once you transplant it, once you baby it for those 7 days, water it day and night, usually by the 7th day, after a while, it will flower. Once it flowers, then it's going to seed itself and you put it near
Grass.
grass or something, or a shady area because it prefers shade. And it by next year you'll have several little garlic mustards coming up. And so that's one of the ways to get started with garlic mustard. You're not going to find the seed because it's kind of outlawed here.
Now, the funny thing about the history of garlic mustard, in England, it was used as a crop
Years ago.
years ago. They ate it.
And remember what we read from that one book, how all the vitamins and minerals that are in it. Here's two websites or companies that you can get wild seeds from. And you can also, Pam just reminded me, you can also get the bloodroot plant from there. They'll send you the live plant, is that right? And the root. I believe I saw the live plant. That's the top one, Richters. Yeah, they'll send you the seeds, the plants, and the rootlets. Okay. Ooh, how much is that? For the rootlets. Okay. It says in here you can get the plant for $6.50. You can get the rootlets. What is that? How many pieces you get? Oh, 100 pieces for $200. Whoa. Okay. Now I've used Richters. Oh, another one which I forgot to write down was I forgot the name, but it'll come to me. Strictly medicinal. I've found more wild edible plants here than in here. So this one has a lot, but this one has even more. This is called Strictly Medicinal. This is a website, and I've gotten many seeds from there, and they've always germinated. Depending upon what you get, you know, they send you 100 seeds or 50 seeds or whatever. But you can get all the different type of burdocks from here. Just about anything we've talked about. You can even get bloodroot from here. You can get from Strictly Medicinal. All right, so the best way to start your wild edible plant garden, as we said, is to transplant them from the wild to your yard or get the seeds. And certain plants do better from the root, like comfrey. They do much better if you start it from the actual root of the plant. Some do better with seeds, but we're giving you a recommendation of specific plants that are easy to grow, that are medicinal and edible. Another one is echinacea. That's in this packet. And milkweed. Milkweed is the one your pastor talked about that I made the fish out of. And it's also, the whole plant is edible. You can make stuffed cabbage, just so many different things from the milkweed. You can make an exotic drink. So this is a plant that you want to have in your wild edible plant garden.
But it has to be done in that same time frame that you get it.
Mm-hmm.
It won't last a second day.
Okay, we're going to, those are just tidbits so that we can keep with our time schedule. We're going to go back to the kitchen area and we're going to do our burdock burger. So let's, I guess, can we bring chairs and you sit and we'll go through it? I guess we need to take one of these. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Turnips and yeah, that's very good.
Here, give this back to Pam.
Pam, here's your book. Oh wait, book.
Thanks for sharing. I
Wait,
will
don't you have
find
more
it.
than one?